What are some common challenges faced during sprint planning, and how can a facilitator address them? Well, I see three probably main things that are going to happen and not be great. A team that takes on too much, and a team that doesn't really do planning. And then the third one is a team who didn't prepare properly. They didn't refine their work well enough. How can you as a facilitator help? Well, it's going to be depending on the problem that presents itself, isn't it? If people don't know how to plan, that's a teaching problem. That's not a facilitation problem. If they haven't refined them, that's a coaching problem. Maybe there's facilitation in the moment, maybe not. But actually a lot of the challenges that you find in sprint planning are dealt with before. Hi, my name is John McFadyen. I'm a certified Scrum trainer with Scrum Alliance, managing partner at Agile Centre, and I've been in the Scrum and Agile community for over 20 years now. So if we need to fix these things before, what can we as a facilitator do in the moment? Well, I gave three things. The team that takes on too much. I'm sure you've been involved in one if you've been a Scrum Master for any length of time. That team who goes 30 points, 30 points, 30 points, we can do 100. Right? Actually, bringing information in, holding the mirror up is absolutely valid. Why wouldn't we, as a Scrum Master, as a facilitator, just ask the question, what's changed? What's different? How is it that you're going to deliver 3 times as much stuff this sprint as you've ever delivered? Well, lots of developers that I work with are eager. They're eager to please, they want to help people, they want to solve problems. And if you turn up and give them the problem of you're not delivering fast enough, they want to help. And the best way to help is deliver more stuff. So in sprint planning, what we often see is them coming in and going, yeah, but we have to do more. What we've got to do as a facilitator there is really hold reality for them and just get them to face up to it, get them to talk about it. Okay? What is different? What allows us to deliver that much more this sprint as opposed to the last few? Help me understand it, because if you can, I'm on board. But if you can't, we need to have a chat. Okay? So if teams are taking on too much stuff, if they're not listening to the data, raise it to them, hold it in front of them, and have a conversation in the moment about it. This is part of facilitation because we are there to get them to a good outcome. And a good outcome out of sprint planning is that they know what they're going to do, why it matters, and how to do it. Okay? If they intend to take on 3 times too much stuff, well, they might know what to do, they might know how to do it, they might know why it matters, but they're not going to deliver it. Okay? And a dose of reality can absolutely help. So have that chat. There's no more to it really than that. Sometimes they won't hang around for planning. One of my real bugbears are the teams who think they've done planning because they've picked some stuff off the product backlog and they've got what they're going to call a sprint backlog, a list of stuff. Okay? This is a teaching problem. Okay? We need to get them before the meeting, or we need to teach them in the meeting. This isn't really a facilitation issue. This is they don't know how to plan. They think planning is choosing things. Okay? So if you can't fix that before, if you can't run a training workshop or get them on a course to teach them Scrum properly, what can we do in the meeting? Well, ask them questions. Again, you will notice that a lot of my fallback in facilitation falls back on my coaching background, and it's because what I want to do is get them to think. I don't want to tell them the answer because they already know the answer. I want them to tell me why the answer isn't the answer. And they can't because it's the answer. Right? So I'm going to ask them, okay, you've chosen this stuff. Why should anybody care? What is it about these 10 things that matters? What are you going to drop if push comes to shove? If things go wrong, and you need to jettison something from your sprint, what is it and why? How do we explain the thinking? How do we explain the rationale? Right? Help them craft a goal. Talk with them. Don't just give them it. It's definitely not on the product owner to give them the goal. Create it together. Co-create it. And once we've got that, it's like, great. So we know what we're going to work on. We know why it matters. Right? How are you going to do the job? How are you going to deliver that thing? How do you know that you have enough time to get that done? Maybe Jeff's on holiday next week. How do we know that we're going to usefully use his time and know more, because he's got a specialist skill that nobody else can do? How do we take this forwards? What is it? Right? Get them to talk about planning. Get them to talk about creating tasks, thinking things through clearly. Sprint planning is about coming up with a concrete plan to deliver the things you said would help you deliver the sprint goal. And if they don't do that, they're going to pay for it later. So as a facilitator, the purpose of the meeting is to answer all three questions. Hold them to it. Now, if they can answer it in 15 minutes, great. I suspect they'll pay for it later. But hey, we can have a retro. We can have a chat about how they ended up there. Give them that opportunity. Ask them the questions. Pull it out of them. Okay? Draw out of them, what are they going to do? Why does it matter? And crucially, how do they intend to deliver that? Because in digging into the detail, in working out the how, they will uncover assumptions. They will create questions that they hadn't considered in refinement. And they can be vital. As a developer, I still remember we took a user story in, a product backlog item in, and we were like, yeah, and we will call this service. And then everybody rather sheepishly looked around at everybody else and went, who's seen that service? So a quick bit of digging, that service didn't exist. If we had taken it in on the assumption that that service existed, and it was a reasonable assumption because it wasn't our part of the system, we would have taken in way too much work. Thankfully, we collectively had the moment of, yeah, I've never called that one before, let's check it exists, and it didn't. So one of the tasks was to create the service. It wasn't a huge job, but it wasn't an easy one. And we had to say no to something else because the thing grew. When we actually looked at how are we going to do this, there was more work in how we approached the problem than we could have come across just by thinking about what the problem is, because there was an assumption in there that turned out to be wrong. So if you've got teams who aren't planning fully, ask them the questions, focus around the what are we doing, the why does it matter, and how do we intend to deliver it. Draw out of the team to get them thinking, get them facing into, this is harder than just choosing some things off a list and hoping it goes well. We want to create a level of predictability and, dare I say, accountability within the team. We said we're going to do a thing, so we're going to make sure we can do it, and then we'll do it. Occasionally it will go wrong, but more often than not, you can count on us. And for me, and for most of the clients that I work with, that's incredibly important, way more important than we can go really quick. They want predictable before fast. Now the third thing, and you'll come across this, or at least I still do an awful lot, where teams aren't refining properly, where they're coming into sprint planning. One of the biggest challenges that I come across is they don't know what's in their backlog. I can't really offer you a help as a facilitator here, because if they don't know it, you've now got to do, you've got to do the work of understanding the problem. So what I want you to do as a facilitator is facilitate it like a refinement session. Make sure they do it and say, okay, we've chosen this work, or we've got the product backlog and we don't know the top 6 items. Right? We've got questions. Great. Your planning is going to be long. It is going to be difficult. It is going to be the sort of thing that used to happen before we had refinement. Refinement came about because people like me were super agile and we didn't do any planning up front. We didn't do any preparation. we walked into sprint planning and it was often the first time we'd seen an item on our backlog. And we'd look at it and we'd go, I don't know what that means. I've got loads of questions about that. Oh, we can't build that. That requires this. Lots and lots of things that meant we couldn't work on what was important. Often we could work on what was easy. Okay? So as a facilitator, in that moment, you're going to have to rely on your resilience. You're going to have to roll with the punches. This is not going to be fun. This is not going to be easy. But your role is to help that team come away with a coherent plan of how to deliver the sprint goal. You're probably going to take in less work than you thought you could. But work with them. What matters? What's most important to the customer? What do we need to deliver next? How do we deliver that? What are the options? What questions do we have? How do we fire those off? Maybe inside planning even. Keep your eye on the prize. How do we help this team get through to understand what they're doing, why it matters, and how they intend to deliver it? And please, in your retro, if not sooner, have a conversation about how on earth can we make this less painful. If this video has been useful, and I hope it has, please head over to grownscrummasters.com and there's plenty more there. Lots of videos, lots of articles for you to have a browse around. Thank you.